suggestions came from many of our friends that why not we have a national seminar, national webinar, so that we can discuss among us. Now, ours is I should say, no one-way speech. In this case, all will interact. We'll be interacting with each other, and thereby we would like to learn more. Basic purpose is to understand the policy, discuss the policy, analyze the policy, and to read between the lines. Because if you allow me to quote Professor, one of the very leading professor, that this is a vision document. Another professor said that this is a trajectory and some reference point. So not many things are here. So it will go take shape when more documents will come. That's why you'll be able to understand what the things are, how the things are going on. So this is only some cut and paste from Kasturirangan committee. So entire committee report 400 plus has been summarized, not really summarized, cut and paste like this. And in doing that, some of the issues we understand have been left out, might be deliberately. They thought that it should not be there. For example, we are very worried that this Right to Education Act of 2009, which is a landmark in the education. We wanted this Right to Education Act to extend to all the school level children. But it has not been done. We hope in the days to come, it will be done, and up to class 12. Unless you make it a law, a legal framework, then it will not be, it will not serve its purpose. So since this primary education is now legally established, similarly we want that it should be done for the other years. That is a very major view of the teachers. And they would like to see that the government comes and thereby makes it legal, based on legal framework. This is a very important observation. Now, whenever the moment it came, we are very happy to see that, as Professor Anil Sarwal has said, that after a long time, this new policy came. We hail it. We appreciate government for bringing out the policy. Now, after the policy was announced, series of responses started coming in, reactions coming in, some supporting it, some raising certain issues. Now these are to be done. What we have done is that we have divided. We are not having one or two macro lectures, rather we will have micro view. For example, elementary education is one view. Second is the quality of education. Third is the dropout problem. Fourth is financing. Fifth is restructuring, and to quote Amartya Sen, and what you call that agency, capacity building of agencies for universities, public, private partnership. So all the topics we have divided. We want our experts to join us. They should tell us, they should help us in understanding the nitty-gritty of the problem. This is a very major objective. That's why we have conducted a number of experts. Professor Anil Sarwal will let to know that next week language will be taken up next Sunday, and a very, very renowned linguistic professor, Professor Agnihatri, will be there, and he will be delivering the lecture at the same time next Sunday. So hopefully you'll come in larger numbers. So when you come in larger numbers, definitely will be encouraged and can carry on our job ahead. Many persons have written to us that we should take up this digital platform. We agree. We request all of you to thereby send us new topics. We have given in our poster, we have given some topics. So the Facebook page, just made, not very old, where we have this list of topics. The postal list of topics are there. But that one particular issue has been missing, is missing there, that's the restructuring and agency capacity building, the building blocks for the success of any education policy. Only one view I'll tell you, that our education system, like our society, economic condition and all that, has been now highly non-homogeneous. I mean, some people have got huge financial power, others lack it. So when you talk about online and other things, naturally you have seen that when this COVID and online practice started, that resulted in huge heartbreak for many students, and some of them, in some part of our country, some students committed suicide because their parents could not arrange a smartphone. So online education, how far? In our view, that there is a, if you call it, see it in terms of matrices, then there is a common matrix. And what is the common matrix? Is just the lowest strata. Now, so I think I won't talk much, because these are almost in-house meetings. Those who have come here are our people. We have been working for a long time, and with their cooperation only, we have been able to do something. Now I'll introduce our organizers. We call them coordinators. We have got 8 coordinators. Professor Anil Sarwal will introduce them. Also, I request Professor Anil Sarwal to introduce Professor Sudhanshu Bhushan. I hope he's there. Anil ji, आप देखिए थोड़ा Sudhanshu Bhushan.
Yes, he is there.
There, very good, nice. Now you know that Professor Sudhanshu Bhushan is a great friend of teaching community across the country, and he has been a regular participant in our deliberations. He enriched us with his fantastic analysis year after year. So today he's the only expert, and also we consider him as a part of our community, teaching fraternity. Professor Anil Sarwal is a very active person. He is in the social activities. He is connected with Baha'i community and doing great job. He is a former English professor from DAV College, Chandigarh, and also connected with British Council. So linguistics also is topic, and he will introduce you to other coordinators. Thank you all. I may not be speaking much here because all our coordinators will be speaking in future. But we like to first listen to the experts, those we invite in our platform. But only greater participation of you can make it success. And we like to make it interactive. Thank you all for coming. Now, I just give the mic to Professor Anil Sarwal. He will now conduct the meeting. Thank you very much. If necessary, I'll comment later. Thank you very much.
Dada, thank you very much. This was Professor Ashok Varman, a great friend of all of us. And if I say a few words about him, it will not be inappropriate. He's a former teacher movement activist. He was the General Secretary of AI Facto for more than 10 years. He is associated with a number of organizations working for the students from disadvantaged families. He's working at the grassroots level to conduct surveys with special reference to the rural sector, preparing reports, and leading a team of teachers and persons across India. He is associated with affirmative actions. He is the president of the Forum of Concerned Teachers that is meeting now, and also associated with Education for All and Right to Education movement. So this was a very brief introduction of our very much loved Professor Ashok Varman. We have now Professor Jitendra N. Shukla. He is a noted academician, a teacher movement leader from Lucknow, UP. He was Vice President of AI Facto. He is the General Secretary of Uttar Pradesh Retired Teachers Association.
How much time will you give me to speak?
3 minutes.
Okay, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, friend. I welcome you all and I welcome to all participants to join this first webinar of Forum of Concerned Teachers. And this is the first seminar on national education policy organized by Forum of Concerned Teachers. And as it was told by Professor Burman, that it is a series of seminars will be conducted so that we can thoroughly discuss the pros and cons of our National Education Policy 2020. Being a teacher, it is our pious duty to express our opinion over the policy candidly and transparently. We know about the previous national policy of national education, that is of 1986, which was modified later in the year 1982, and the Right to Education Act 2009, and now this National Education Policy 2020, which was approved by the Union Cabinet on 29th July 2020, and this policy which came after 34 years of gap, and this is also the first national education policy of the 21st century. So we are lucky enough to discuss this policy, and we should also discuss the merits and demerits of this policy. As we know, all education policies reflects the vision, ideology, and agenda of the political party ruling at the center. When we go through these policies, we observe the fundamental principles enshrined in these policies to guide the education system at large and ideal. They give the ideal picture, but they are not pragmatic. For example, I will give you two examples which was given in our National Education Policy 2020 draft, that teachers and faculty are the heart of the learning process. Second important thing which I noted, that substantial investment in a strong, vibrant public education system. These are very two important aspects. And the first, which was also we discussed, we have seen in the previous policy of education, and now the present scenario is quite different. The teachers who are the epicenter of any educational policy, but they are being ignored. Because we know at the present scenario of the teacher that about 40 to 60% of the post of teachers are lying vacant from primary level to the university level. And the teachers are forced for education and dharna for their demand. And they are taking intensive march at Jantar Mantar before the parliament. So now financial implication of the national education policy. But you see that the such increase was also proposed and being proposed for the last 50 years, but it was never implemented. So we are also, education is always facing the hardship of financial hardship. So it is very important to the government must spend some money to implement the policy. Any policy can be a fruitful policy when the government is ready to invest the money, and proper funding are very important. In the absence of proper infrastructure, the scheme of the various schemes which have been being proposed at the primary level also, that they are at present they are providing midday meal to the primary school students, and now this policy proposes the breakfast also. But for that purpose, a huge amount of money is needed.
Professor Shukla, please conclude.
Okay, sir. Now I want to quote the Pandit Mahamana Madan Mohan Malviya, who was the founder of the Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, 100 years back, when he was addressing the convocation ceremony in in 1920 of the Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, he told that विश्वविद्यालयों की तुलना हम उन वृक्षों से कर सकते हैं जिनकी जड़ें प्रारंभिक पाठशालाओं की गहराई तक पहुंचती हैं, जो अपना रस तथा शक्ति द्वितीय श्रेणी के स्कूलों से प्राप्त करते हैं। विश्वविद्यालयों के कार्य में बाधा पड़ने का एकमात्र कारण यही है कि वे ऐसे विद्यार्थियों को भर्ती करते हैं जो विश्वविद्यालय की शिक्षा के लिए सर्वथा अयोग्य हैं। During my 40 years of teaching career, the quote of the Mahamana is actually still it is working. And
Okay, friends, I think we move forward. Otherwise, we will be late for everything. So our next speaker is Professor M.V. Gonareddy. He is a noted academician from Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. He is a retired principal and a former General Secretary of Andhra Pradesh Teachers Association. He was the Vice President of AI Facto. Professor Reddy is associated with many social service organizations and has been organizing a series of webinars, including all stakeholders on new education policy. So we welcome Professor Gonareddy to now speak to us.
Yeah, thank you, Anil Sarwalji. Thank you, Barman Dada, for forming this group to debate on new education policy and educate our stakeholders so that we can bring about certain modifications in the draft before it is going to be implemented. You all know that we teachers from Andhra Pradesh and Telangana organized many national conferences. Two noted conferences were organized in 2001, which was on child labor, and 2007, it was on public funded education system. Again, in 2013, we organized a World Teacher Conference on Millennium Development Goals. Later, we organized another national conference on Sustainable Development Goals. Now, we are here to study in detail each and every aspect of national education policy, its merits and demerits, and then suggest certain modifications and how it is going to impact the lives of millions of children who are out of school, and millions of children who are dropping out, and millions of children who have no access to quality education. So all these aspects have to be debated upon in the light of this new education policy. So as suggested by Barman Dada, we need to take up one by one aspect. Say, for example, language policy and budget and elementary education, higher education, vocational education, like that. Let us take up one by one later. I'm happy to introduce that. From Andhra Pradesh, our veteran leader S.D. Subbareddy has joined, and another professor from Mahatma Gandhi University, Anjareddy Garu, has also joined, and our colleague and senior leader Inung Daran and former RJD Chandrasekhar, etc. Sachowati Madam and Dr. Syed Ali, so many members of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh have joined to listen to you. I'm very happy to participate in this webinar. I will continue to extend my fullest cooperation. Whenever you tell me, I am prepared to organize without any time limit, without any strength limit in the webinar. You can tell me anytime I'm prepared to organize it. So with these few words, I once again thank our organizers, and I wish the meeting, the webinar, a grand success. Thank you very much, Sarwalji.
Thank you very much. That was short and sweet. And of course, Professor Reddy, we always look forward to your support, and yes, and your friends' support who are here. So the next speaker we have with us is Professor L. Randhoni. She is a very active and energetic leader of Manipur teaching community, leading many movements in the state, Northeast India, a noted academician and associated with extension activities. She is a former leader of AI Facto and president AMACTA. At present, she is a leader of All India Retired Teachers Association. She is regularly organizing webinars on NEP 2020. Can you please speak to us?
Are you listening, sir? Excuse me.
Yes, please.
A very good evening to you all.
Good
So
evening.
on behalf of Forum of Concerned Teachers, we call FCT, I extend my heartfelt welcome to all present here and also who are left. Unluckily, we are left who are not allowed to join this. I welcome all of you on this first webinar on National Education Policy 2020. Let me tell about something about this forum. Our forum is for working for the betterment of society through education. For many years, the forum tried to give education to poor and disadvantaged group of this society under the able leadership of Professor Ashok Varman. So FCT is really the forum of conscientiousness, as the name suggests. And it is working for the society and also trying to instill quality and healthy education in India. When NEP, National Education Policy 2020 came out for the first time, we all worked together. We discussed about this, analyzed about this, and coordinated. And we tried in our state level as well as national level to bring out to the people the ideas and the ideologies of this national education policy and in comparison to the other policies that so far we have known. So in the state level also, we are engaged in many webinars or discussions continuously from mind of this month until that. And we are doing on daily basis, we are discussing in many topics like language, then about ECCD, educational, early childhood care and education, and so many other things that is included in our topic in the post. So we will, and also I may be sharing my thought, maybe one of the speakers also in one of the sessions in the coming webinar. So let us work together, all the teachers I request, friends, let us work together for the betterment of the society and to bring a healthy and quality education to the people for the future of our country, our society, as well as for the future of the world. With these few words, let me wind up here. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Randoni ji. It was a great appeal that we should all work together to bring up our country, to make reforms in education, and to do our best so that a better system can be created. Now, our next speaker is Mr. R. Halesh, and he has been leading the teachers movement of Karnataka for a long period and is a former leader of AIFACTO. Truly, he is the leader of leaders. He is associated with many social service schemes. Today, he is busy in a rural area of Karnataka to serve the students with his scheme of distributing books to poor students. Very much. So then we go to our main speaker. He doesn't need much introduction, and Professor Ashok Varman already spoke about him. He is Professor Sudhanshu Bhushan. He is Professor and Head Department of Higher and Professional Education, that is LUPA. So Professor Sudhanshu Bhushan would really analyze the whole policy for us, and I'm sure that the insights he gives us, we will work on them for a long time. Professor Bhushan, please.
First of all, many thanks for inviting me to this very important forum, who are dedicated to the cause of education and education policy. The discussion on education policy is indeed very opportune for this concerned forum to discuss. Esteemed colleagues, I will be I don't know, maybe for 30 or 40 minutes as per the time allotted to me. I will be discussing 8 to 10 points on school education and 8 to 10 points on higher education, which are of great significance. If you look at this policy document, it is an ideal document. It is indeed a visionary document, as many have said. But any document, any idea needs to be tested at the level of practice. So what is important while going through this national education policy document is always question or always debate it on the point, from the point of view of practical rationality. Some of the ideas may be good, but whether these ideas can hold in real practice in Indian education system or not, this needs to be understood very well. So there has been, if you look at the document of 63 pages, first of all, I would also like to advise you that only download a copy from the MHRD website, because there are other versions which are also in circulation, and there are many contradictions between these two. So please download the only copy, authentic copy from the MHRD website and read through that. Yeah. Now, if you look at school education, the first and foremost point that you will notice is that there has been a transformation in the structure of education, both at the school level and at the higher education level. What is this structural transformation? See, we know very well that from National Policy of Education 86, we had 10 plus 2 plus 3 system. Now this has been completely overhauled. Now how far this overhauling is good or bad, I think all of us need to understand. What is being said is that now there will be 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system of school education. What is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system? First system, it is said, is the foundational stage, where 3 years of early childhood care education will be integrated with 2 years of school education. So 3 years of early child from age 3 to 6, and then from age 6 to 8, 2 years of school education. That will be first stage, which we call it a foundational stage. The second will be a preparatory stage. Preparatory stage will be class 3, 4, 5. So, and then the middle stage, middle school stage will be 6, 7, 8. Third stage, and the fourth stage will be secondary education, which will be again 4 years, 9, class 10, 11, and 12. This kind of a restructuring. This kind of a restructuring may have one very significant element, that early childhood care and education 3 years is also being brought into a framework of school education. For this restructuring, it is being said that the first 3 years will be the early childhood care education, and there are 4 modes through which this early childhood care education will be integrated into school education. That you can look at the document on page 6. What are those 4 modes? And it is also said that there will be at the first level, that is foundational level, there will be an emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy. It is said that there will be a national curricular pedagogical framework for early childhood care and education, which will be prepared by NCERT, which will have 3 years from early childhood and 2 years from school education. There is a claim that there will be a universal access to ECCE through all the 4 modes that I mentioned. Teachers training will be given to Anganwadi teachers, and there will be foundational literacy and numeracy by grade 3 through a national mission scheme. So there are many claims. There will be a national mission, there will be a curricular and pedagogical framework for foundation stage, and there is also a claim of universal access. So in one way, this is certainly an advance from the previous national education policy, that these 3 years of ECCE has been brought together into the school education. Naturally, there are many challenges. How to really provide a system, infrastructure, teachers, etc. Now, it is said that teacher vacancies will be filled up through the local teachers. Please try to understand how far this is feasible. And it is said on page 9 that to ensure that all students are school ready, NCERT and SCERT to develop a school preparation module. Means another significant feature is that through school preparation module, all the early childhood care students will be brought to the level of class 1. Why it is being emphasized? This is being emphasized because the students maybe at the beginning stage, class 1 and class 2, do not come with the enough competencies, and they tend to drop. So what is being said that to this system of foundational stage, they will be prepared for the school education. So this is one claim. And then they are saying that there will be a national repository of all online resources on a Diksha platform. Diksha platform has just been inaugurated a few months ago by MHRD. There will be peer tutoring and trained volunteers. Peer tutoring and trained volunteers, again, this is a much advanced concept. Now, how far this concept will prevail and work in our system. But one important thing that is being claimed about this is that there will be a morning breakfast in these early childhood care centers integrated into school education, and there will be midday meals as well, and there will be health checkup and immunization and so on and so forth. So there are 2 points so far that I have covered. One is a new system of foundational stage. 2 years of schooling will be integrated. How will that system be put into place is, I think, one of the very important challenge of national education policy, which needs to be understood. And there will be a curricular framework, national curricular pedagogical framework for this foundational stage to develop the numeracy and other skills for foundational stage. So these are the 2 important interventions. I think up to page 9, these 2 are covered, and it would be nice if you go into different words and try to understand what are the issues, what are the challenges, and how far it is a practical proposition. But certainly on this point, it creates a new ground of intervention, which so far was not touched in the National Education Policy 86. Third, it says that for dropout is a very perennial problem of Indian education system, and therefore it says in unequivocal terms that there will be an infrastructure and there will be effort towards ensuring participation at all levels of education. 4 stages are foundational stage, preparatory stage, middle education, and secondary. As I said, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 formula. So this is what it says. And then it says that there has been also an emphasis on open distance and learning. And it says at some place that when all the schools and all the teachers, etc., will have that kind of a facility, nobody knows when will that facility will be there in rural areas and so on. But it says that through NIOS, that is National Institute of Open Schooling, and state open schools, there will be intervention by them in order to make in order to provide education. Now it says there will be three grades, levels: A level, which will be of 3 grade up to 3 grade, B level up to 5 grade, and C level up to 8 grade. And then there will be secondary level, 10 and 12 grade, and there will be a vocational level. So there is also an emphasis as to how through open schooling the education will be spread and access to all will be ensured. The fourth, and in this it also says there is a new term which has been used. So far you have been hearing public-private partnership, but now there is a new term called public philanthropic partnership. Now I do not know how far public-private partnership has succeeded in Indian education system, but a new concept of public philanthropic partnership, how will it succeed? Again, is an important challenge to be discussed. Then the fourth major point of restructuring that it talks about is restructuring school curriculum and pedagogy. Now this restructuring is again a huge problem, and NCERT have been given this task, because now the whole design will change. The design for foundational stage will be different from the design of preparatory stage, will be different from the design of middle school stage and the secondary stage of 4 years. So this is again an important aspect to be. Then it says that national curricular framework, the last national curricular framework was announced in 2005. After that, for some reason or other, and after 10 years, it is supposed to come, 5 to 10 years. But for last 15 years, we didn't have national curricular framework. So this document, however, says that national curricular framework for school education will be prepared by NCERT in 2021. And the main message of this national curricular framework, and the whole document is full with this idea that reduce curriculum load, reduce this rote memory, develop critical thinking, and so on and so forth. So even at the level of school stage, it is said that reduce curriculum content, introduce and then the experiential learning, art integration. How can art be integrated in school education? How can sports be integrated into school education? And the new thing that is coming up again, a very new feature of this school education, is that now they are talking of flexibility in course choices. Now, what do we mean by flexibility in course choices? In higher education system, all of you are quite aware that under choice-based credit system, this flexibility of choice of subjects was provided. Now, this is being said that even at the level of school education, this flexibility should be provided. Now, this is a new feature. Its implications need to be debated by the academic persons. Now, fifth point, which is a very, very important point, is language. And when I read it first, I found that there are many terms which are being used, which is not very, very clear. For example, they are saying many terms, like they are saying home language, they are talking of mother tongue, then they are talking of regional language, and then local language. So four, what do we mean by local language? What is regional language? What is home language? What is this mother tongue? What is being said, if I have got it correctly, is that up to grade 5 and preferably till grade 8, the language of instruction will be home language or mother tongue. Now, what is home language. Mother tongue may be any tribal language, any other language than the one listed in the constitution. So then it means that all the textbooks will have to be developed in home language, local language, and even in mother tongue. And it says that there will be a bilingual mode of instruction. So suppose a student is home language is different or the mother tongue is different, then in mother tongue as well as a language that is spoken. So there will be a bilingual mode of instruction. It also says that language teachers in all regional languages will be developed. It does say that 3 language formula will be followed, in which 2 of the 3 languages will be native to Indian states. For example, in southern states, it has been a matter of debate and controversy. In the southern state, normally it is by 2 language formula, say someone in Tamil and English. Now it says that there may be Tamil, English, and one other language. That is not being mentioned. One language could be Sanskrit, it could be French, Spanish, whatever it is. So it is silent on this point in order to avoid any controversy from southern states. And it says that there will be a textbook in bilingual, and there will be also an option of 2 years of classical languages of India. Say Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, and there will be option, not necessarily a compulsion to study that. So whole language, there are 3 pages, pages 13, 14, 15, which are devoted on the issue of language. And I think perhaps the next webinar is being organized on the issue of language, and perhaps the experts will throw more light on the whole issue of language that has been taken up in the national education policy. The 6th very, very important point that is being said, and this is again a new feature, is that the whole assessment system needs to be revamped. The policy says. What do they mean by this? They say that along with the national curricular framework of school education, there will be a whole transformation of the assessment system. What is that transformation? Transformation is that it says that now there will be a progress report card, which will assess a student on the basis of 360-degree multi-dimensional report. Now, what is 360-degree multi-dimensional aspect? That is not very well clarified, although the para below says that on different abilities and skills of the student, all the dimensions will be covered. So again, this is a task which will have to be taken up. Then there will be, then they are saying, one important thing that they are saying, that at present what is happening is at the 10th board level and the 10th board level examination is conducted. And students throughout 10 years of schooling are not aware of their levels of learning. And they come to realize that their level of learning is deficient at the level of class 10 or class 12, when there is all India and board examinations take place. So now what they are saying is that there will be examinations at grade 3, grade 5, grade 8. Then board examination 10 and 12 will continue to prevail. So now there will be 5 examinations. First 3 examinations at grade 3, 5, and 8 will be conducted by the school itself, and state will make an effort. So the advantage of this will be, it says that there will be an artificial intelligence based software to help track growth of students. That means when a student has entered in grade 3 and has completed grade 3 examination, then this software will cover that student's progress, and it will cover students' progress throughout school education from grade 3, 5, 8, and 10 and 12. So this kind of a tracking of students throughout the school education stage will be attempted. This again is a new feature. You will find it on page 16. Then, so there is a completely new system of assessment. There has been much abuse of the present system of assessment, which has led to the coaching centers and so on. And it does talk about the fact that coaching centers, etc., will be discouraged because of the new assessment system that will be developed. And in this new assessment system, there will be national assessment centers. And this will help, along with the NCRT and SCRT, will help what kind of an assessment needs to be developed. It also gives few examples. Now, the next very important point, 7th, is the PARAK, that is Performance Assessment Review Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. This will be a national assessment center which will be located in the Ministry of Human Resource Development. Now, of course, it is the Education Ministry, which will be a standard setting body. Now, a standard setting, you are all aware of this term. UGC has been given the responsibility to maintain and coordinate the standards of higher education. And UGC has been doing it through regulations and all that, you are all well aware. Now, at the school stage also, it is said that what is the standard that one needs to meet. And therefore, whole new concept which has already come up in higher education has also come up in school education, such as what is the learning outcomes of the students at every class level. So these learning outcomes need to be met. And for that, there will be a state achievement survey, there will be a national achievement survey, there will be a learning outcomes monitoring, and it will promote collaboration between one school board to another school board, say West Bengal, Bihar, and so on and so forth. And this will National Testing Center or agency will also make the testing for the entrance to the university level system. So after class 12, if anybody wants to have the admission in, say, Presidency College or Presidency University, then although it is optional, but then it will, if it shows the score of NTA, National Testing Agency, then it is up to Presidency University to follow it or not. But then it will simplify many testings. For example, in Delhi University, you are very well aware that when parents come, they have to wait here for a month in order to complete the whole admission process, and the students may have to travel from one college to another college and so on. So that kind of a problem perhaps will be addressed through the National Testing Agency, which will have all India university level entrance tests. So that again is a new feature. Now, which is discussed on page 18 and 19. There is a whole new emphasis on the teachers, lots of emphasis. So far as teacher in school education is concerned, what they are saying is that there is at present teacher eligibility test. We are all aware of that. Now, along with that, an NTA test scores for entry of teachers at every level, foundational, preparatory, middle and secondary levels will be undertaken. Now, therefore, what I feel, the whole teacher recruitment process has been made quite complex. You may be aware of TGT and PGT, but now there will be teacher recruitment at the foundational stage and at all the 4 stages. So that is one new element. Then subject-wise teachers vacancies will be assessed and will be filled up, it says, by a comprehensive teacher recruitment planning, forecasting exercise. The term that it uses is that there will be a comprehensive teacher recruitment planning, forecasting exercise at the state level, which will find out what is the number of vacancies and it will fill up those vacancies. So far as the in-service training, you can say, is concerned, there will be 50 hours of CPD of teachers every year. Every year, teachers will have to undergo uh, professional development course of 50 hours. And for school leaders and complex leaders, school complex leaders, I will come to that later. Now, there will be again a 50 hours of leadership training. There is a tenure track and track and tenure system. What is this tenure track and tenure? You are all aware that in US, for example, there is a tenure track and tenure. Tenure means after completion of tenure track probation of maybe 1 year, 2 years, may even be 20 years. In US, there are professors who are on probation kept on tenure track even for 20 years. So for all these periods, there will be a probation, which is called tenure track. And once they qualify this probation or the tenure track, then they will be given tenure, means permanent teachers. So that kind of a system to be introduced in school education, I think how complex and easy the task will be, you can very well imagine. Then teachers will be brought into leadership positions. There is a system will be developed. Then they are also saying that national professional standards for teachers by 2022 by NCTE will be developed. Now, that means the teacher, just as lawyers have certain professional standards to be maintained, doctors have certain professional standards to be maintained. Similarly, a teacher teaching is also has been given the status of a profession, and therefore professional standards will be laid out by the National Council of Teacher Education, which is now will be renamed as PSSB, Professional Standard Setting Body. I will come to it a little later. There are two more points. I do not know how far time allows me, but then so far as teacher B.Ed education is concerned, a much more complexity has crept in. What it says that there will be a 2-year B.Ed. After BA, there will be 4-year integrated B.Ed program. There will be also a 1-year B.Ed. 1-year B.Ed for whom? Who has completed 4-year undergraduate. There is a proposal of 4-year and 3-year undergraduate in higher education. So those who complete 3-year, for them 2 years, those who complete 4 years of undergraduate, for them 1 year, or 1 year for postgraduate, those who have completed postgraduate. I will come to this point, this restructuring later on, because they are saying 3-year undergraduate, 4-year undergraduate, 1 year postgraduate, 2 year postgraduate. So all those will be accommodated into the various periods of B.Ed programs. I do not know how far will those B.Ed institutions be, and then there will be a shorter post-B.Ed certification. And then National Curricular Framework of Teacher Education will be developed by 2021. There will be no substandard standalone teacher education institutions. There are at present 20,000 standalone, most of them standalone teacher education institutions. What will happen to them? I mean, the document says that either they will have to be multidisciplinary, that means they will have to have 10-20 disciplines and become multidisciplinary institution, or they will have to be closed down. How far will it be possible? I do not know. There will be much three pages emphasis on equity and inclusion. In fact, Kasturi-Rangan Committee report was much criticized for not taking adequate care of equity and inclusion. Therefore, this policy document has taken care of equity and inclusion. Some of the salient points are there will be social and economically deprived groups will be identified region-wise, gender-wise. There will be inclusion fund, the Kendriya Vidyalayas and Jawaharlal Nehru Vidyalayas and Kasturba Balika Vidyalayas, etc. will be integrated, and there will be some sort of a special education zone which will be created in underserved regions where there is majority of SEDGs, that is socially and economically disadvantaged groups. So there is a lot of that emphasis. Two more point under school education. There is an emphasis on school complex. What is school complex? There will be a secondary education, and within a radius of 10 kilometers, it says that whatever schools exist will be converged, will be linked. There will be linkages of these with the school complex, and then school complex will be a much body of happening, much happening. All sorts of clubs and extracurricular and sports, etc., will be done, and therefore there will be an efficient allocation of resources through these. Then, and it says that small schools which are non-viable, less than 30 teachers, it quotes some figure percentage, many percentage of teachers which have less than 30 students. So what will happen to those small schools is again an important thing to be discussed. Then there will be an accreditation body for school education as well. Nobody so far knew accreditation even in higher education, but in higher education, thanks to NAAC, it has been popularized with some success or no success, one doesn't know. But now this accreditation system is also going to be there in the school education level, where this will be an important body to set the standards. So these are some of the points which are the, you can say, landmark points or very characteristic of the school education so far as national education policy is concerned. Now, Barmanda, should I also proceed for higher education, or the time, whether time permits or not?
Yes, please raise your hands, or you can, if we speak one by one, then we can hear, because we have 94 people and it is very difficult to see hands. But yes, if you raise hands on technology, maybe. Yes, I saw one hand there. It is Dr. Manas Bahera. Please, you unmute yourself and then speak.
Very good evening, Professor Sudhanshu Bhushan. I am Dr. Manas Behera, President Odisha Government College Teachers Association. We met in Bhubaneswar in December, and namaskar to all of you, Dada and others, for organizing this brilliant webinar. Specific questions particularly. One is on higher education. That is the question of governance. The proposed all India bodies are indications of over centralization and taking powers from the state. This has been done in an unprecedented manner in this national education policy, number one. Number two, the proposal for 50% GER by 2050 will require another 3 crore seats in higher education, and 6% GDP, 6% funding of GDP on education will not be sufficient to do this. So is there any gray area for privatization of higher education which has not been clearly defined in this policy? Third important point is, if you go to the introduction, there is a discussion of Takshashila, Nalanda, ancient education. That's very good. But you will see there is no mention of freedom struggle. There is no mention of Gandhi. There is no mention of Tagore. There is no mention of Aurobindo. There is no mention of Wardha school model, or no mention of Gopabandhu model, open school model in Satyavadi Manavidyalaya in Odisha. So is it deliberate, or they have left it out? The next is the 4-year degree program, which has completely failed in America. Are we adopting that? Next question is on opening of foreign universities in India. So these are my questions. So kindly answer and elaborate discussions. Thank you.
Professor Sudhanshu, would you like to note questions and answer, or one by one? Professor Burman, please. Yes.
Manas, Professor Manas Behera, you have raised many important questions, very relevant. But I would request you that all regarding the higher education may be taken up in the next session.
Okay.
does-
So I have one question on school education. I will request Professor
Go on.
Sudhanshu ji to answer, to have discussion on this. This child education, pre-primary education of 3 years is a very welcome step. That's a good idea. How far it is practicable, I don't know. But this mixing of class 1 and 2 with preschooling, that is 3, that is first 5, that is foundational course, I think it is not scientific. Because preschooling 3 years is very good, but this 1 to 5 must be in one pattern, 1 to 5. This is my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, we have Mr. K. Anji Reddy. Would you like to ask your question, sir? Mr. Anji Reddy. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, good evening to Professor Sudhanshu Bhushan sir and all other participants. My only one question I would like to raise to the professor. So this pre-primary education, it is linked with the 4 ministerials. That's the Women and Child Welfare, Family and Child Welfare, Education, and Health Department. So will it be possible to coordinate these 4 departments and under whose control the pre-primary schools has to function, whether it is under the present family welfare or with the school education department, under whose control these schools tomorrow has to be function? That is my question. Thank you, sir.
If there are any more questions you might ask, because I think we should close by 5:30. We started at 4, so 5:30 is a reasonable time to close. So we have about 13-14 minutes more. So if you
I
have,
have a question.
yes, please.
Actually, in the whole new education policy, nothing is mentioned about women-child education. Women-child education. So we have we must put some suggestions, whether we must give some suggestion or especially for children and girl children. For girl children. In the whole, there is no scope for women. In the whole education policy, in the higher education or maybe in the school education, no scope for women or girl child is not there. So please, sir.
Does Mr. Khatri want to ask a question?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Dada Burman, namaskar. I remember our a nice time with you and madam at Moscow. Nice to see you again. I would only like to point out about 2 things which are important. Number 1 is that it says that culture, values, roots, etc. should be there right from the schooling stage. But is there a possibility that through this cultural nationalism will be injected upon right from the schooling? So this is one thing that we have to be cautious about. A particular ideology may be thrust upon. Now, second thing is that we have to be concerned about digital divide. As Dada Burman indicated in the opening remarks, all people do not have access to digital devices. And just 2 days back, there was a news report that in Kullu, 110 students of school going, they have to climb a hill every day to get network in their phones. So for studies. So we have to see the problems we face in rural and these hilly areas also.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe Professor Sudhanshu can take these questions, and if we have more time, then we can ask more people later. We have about 10
Anil
minutes.
Dada. Hello,
Yes,
Anil Dada.
yes. Mr. Gonared, yes.
Professor Jahangir has joined from Bangladesh.
Yes, one person. Yes, I think somebody was there from Bangladesh.
Yeah, he has already joined. Let him also say something. Okay.
Okay, for a few minutes, then Professor Sudhanshu will respond.
Yeah. After this response. Okay, right.
So can we have our friend from Bangladesh speak for a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes?
Yeah, Professor Jahangir, sir.
Yeah, speak, Jahangir, speak.
Professor Jahangir, sir. Do you hear us? Are you there in the webinar now?
He is not around.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Gonareddy. Can we go back to Professor Bhushan?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Can you please take up these questions?
Yes, there are 5 important points which have been raised, and all of them are very, very important. I'm not competent enough as a pedagogue to really comment upon whether the integration of 3 years of pre-primary with the primary 2 years is a good idea or a bad idea. Perhaps someone who is an expert will be able to tell much. All that I find, and Professor Behra said that it is not scientific. Whether it is scientific or not, I hesitate to answer this question. But certainly from a practical point of view, this kind of a restructuring will raise all sorts of issues. I mean, 3 years of pre-primary and then 2 years of primary. Why 2 years of primary? Why not 5 years of primary? Which is what is prevalent. Of course, the years of primary differs from state to state. But this has to be really, I will say, very carefully looked at and understood. But establishing this kind of a new structure will take decades, let me tell you. We have not even succeeded in having 10 plus 2 plus 3 system of education. There are many states where plus 2 is still within the university, within the fold of university. So that is a practical challenge which one will have to face. Then Dr. Reddy asked about the 4 ministries controlling the pre-primary. So yes, this is also an important challenge. But I think the nodal ministry will be perhaps the Ministry of Education, and that ministry will then have interactions with the Women and Child Development and other ministries. So far as the point that Madam said, Lasramji, is that there is no mention of women and child. That is not strictly true. In fact, under SEDG, socio and economically deprived groups, there is a mention of woman and child, and many schemes and many ideas have been thrown into that as to how the girls' education will have to be uplifted. So there is a mention. We can't say that there is no mention. Even in higher education, there is a mention. Now, the whole issue of ideology of cultural nationalism is again a debatable issue. No education, education policy is not a technical document. It is very much deeply embedded in the social and political systems. So from that point of view, the whole question of ideology cannot be debated. But you have rightly said that Professor Manas said that there is no mention of Gandhi and Tagore and freedom struggle. There has to be some mention of that in that. So my understanding, I also teach a course on education policy to my MPhil students. My understanding is that education in terms of the policy document is the collection of intentions in terms of various propositions. But the policy unfolds itself only in practice. So in practice, we'll decide how far the element of ideology is prevalent and so on and so forth. So at the level of practice, certainly you will find some sort of a ideology being pushed into the system. And regarding digital divide, absolutely you are right. The document does say very lofty things in terms of internet, open schooling, distance education. In higher education, if you come to distance education, there are many things that are being said. So digital divide is indeed going to pose a great challenge. So all that you have pointed out is not, in fact, something that I have to answer. You have to introspect and think it in terms of the challenge. That's all I'd like to respond.
Thank you, Professor Bhushan. It was very nice of you to give details and to raise some very prominent issues. And I think the issues of infrastructure, funding, human resources, and having the resources for multidisciplinary kind of education and assessment and our rich cultural heritage. So, and orientation of the whole education policy. These are very important questions. And as you said, they will come out when the policy is implemented. It's only an indicator. So I think with these words, I would like to thank all the participants who are here. And I would like to project a project on the screen. You can see that if you would like to suggest some more things, your suggestions, comments, and ideas, you please send it to concernedteachersforum@gmail.com. So please mind the stops, concerned stop teachers stop forum@gmail.com. And the next speaker will be Professor Ramakant Agnihotri, who is a well-known linguist and educationalist. And we really look forward to our eminent speakers like Professor Bhushan. And I'm sure, you know, we have about 90 people connected, more than about 100, I would say, and they have remained. So you have generated a lot of interest by your presentation. And thank you very much for that, Professor Bhushan. Thank you very much to Professor Ashok Barman, who actually took this initiative. It was, I think, a wish in all our hearts that such a forum should be there. And we will have it, God's grace, every Sunday. Professor Barman, would you like to say a few words?
Just a few words. First, I would like to thank Professor Bhushan. For last 10 and more years, he has been helping us to understand various issues. In all our conferences, AI-50 conferences, he used to be a regular speaker and dwelt upon all the contemporary problems. So his excellent analysis, hope will continue to have his patronage in the days to come. And secondly, I would say that there are lots of reactions and responses after the policy came. And here different angles are being used to comment. I'll just, two comments I'll repeat. One is that by Professor Agnihotri. This is a reference point, trajectory. So a little has been said, much has not yet been said, to be said later. And secondly, what Professor Prabhat Patnaik, the great commentator, has said, that the issue may be understood if you look it from political economy point of view. You can also note his point, that his opinion is that, this is his opinion, I'm just quoting it, that if we look at the problem from a political point of view, we might be able to decipher or rather understand the things better. This is a personal view. We all are very eligible people, we also. But one thing I repeat finally, that we want to have a very interactive platform here. So keep on writing in that all the members of our organizing committee, or the coordinators, will look into your reactions and we'll strengthen ourselves, and hopefully we'll be able to do much better in the days to come. This being the inaugural session, naturally we need some more time to properly structure this thing, but on the whole, we are very thankful to all the participants. And finally, thanks to Professor Anil Sarwal for his excellent anchoring, whatever select, or facilitator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and goodbye, and see you on next Sunday.
Thank you, Anil Sarwalji. Thank you, Barman
Thank you.
Dada. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
For the wonderful organization.
Thank you very much.
You.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much from Telangana.
Telangana.
Thank you all. Thank you for very informative session. Thank you.